Good morning, students. Hope you're all able to hear me. Good morning, students. Right, I can see the video on now. Let me just get confirmation on my voice and then I will begin the session. Right, I can see the video. Right, I can hear my voice as well now. So, on that note, definitely I can begin the class. So, on now, let me just get confirmation on my voice. Right. So, good morning, everyone. Welcome everybody to Unacademy's YouTube platform. So, I took up a couple of newspaper reading sessions at the start of this month, uh, and I'm back there. I also took up one newspaper session on unacademy.com. And so we are back with your favorite session, which is the analysis of the newspaper. So today I'm going to analyze yesterday's paper and today's paper. There'll be two classes. Right now it's for about an hour and a half. This is going to be yesterday's, and then meet you guys at 2 p.m. for discussion on today's newspaper. So let's begin. This is our channel, Crack All Management Exams. So first of all, I'll just tell you a little bit on unacademy.com. This is India's largest online learning platform. This is our channel. We'll be, as you are probably already aware, we'll be helping you cover all the management examinations, beginning with but not restricted to CAT. That, of course, is the flagship paper. But we also take into consideration several other examinations such as IFT, ZAT, MAT, CMAT, NMAT, TISNET, SNAP, etc. Right, and which is where I come into the picture. I will be taking care of your general awareness, which is a very important paper in several of these exams, not in CAT, but in the others. And of course, now in the next couple of months, general awareness will become doubly more important because in January you will start receiving the results of your examinations, which will be followed by group discussions, interviews, and that is where the more content you have, the better you'll be able to answer. This is a brief profile of myself. My name is Aritro Dasgupta, and I'm an MBA in Forest Management from the Indian Institute of Forest Management in Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh, with specialization in conservation and livelihood. This MBA finished in 2010, and since then, it's been more than a decade's work experience in the areas of teaching, training, strategy consulting, executive recruitment, and in content writing. Most of my experience during this period has been in India, but I've also had a stint in the Middle East and worked in and worked in and been published in North America as well. Last 5.5 years, I've been closely connected to the coaching industry, and during this period, rank holders to several nationally recognized examinations have been my students. By nationally recognized exams, I include the likes of CAT, CLAT, and DOJAT. There are others as well, but these are the significant ones. Right, let's move ahead. What all you will receive as part of the Unacademy platform, let me just explain to you guys. I hope the lighting is better now. थोड़ा सा dark दिख रहा था मुझे, but I hope you guys are able to view properly now. So there are daily live classes. Let me just show you how you can access them. This is the name of our channel, as I showed you. This is Crack Management Exams. As I'm speaking, we are also going through several other classes right now live, as you can see on the side. सो ये है हमारा चैनल क्रैक मैनेजमेंट एग्जाम्स. इसको आप क्लिक करेंगे तो यू विल बी एबल टू गेट एक्सेस टू several of the classes. Meanwhile, there are also live tests and quizzes which comprises the entire syllabus and which mimics the real-time exam. This year's exam was for 120 minutes and not 180 as has been usual. The course content is very well structured, and of course you receive unlimited access to the classes once you enroll. This is a list of some of our key educators. You may take a look at their names, their experience, work experience, qualifications, watch minutes, and number of followers. You will note it is really impressive. They've mostly been teachers from quants, verbal, and reasoning, and of course, my job will be on general awareness. I've got a special class lined up as well today at 4:30 p.m. So hope to catch you guys for that as well. So three classes today. It's a busy day. Do bear with me. Okay, so this is how you receive notification for the classes. This is just a sample of a screenshot. जो भी आपकी classes होंगी उस दिन ऐसे आपको notifications प्राप्त होंगी. Right? Okay. This is how, meanwhile, you receive notifications for the batches. There could be two kinds of batches. One is with an individual faculty for one subject, as you can see at the bottom, or it can involve the entire syllabus, as you can see on top, and that is where a number of trainers would be involved in. I've told you how we have a schedule that works very well for you. Even if you've missed a live class, you can always see the recordings. As I told you, our channel. So once you go through the archives of crack management exams, you will go through, be able to see all the sessions. So similarly, you can make use of mobile PC tablet. That's it, and you'll be able to access the classes. We have always believed that language should be an enabler and not a divider, which is why we are present in 16 different languages, right? You can see 12 plus 4, so that's a total of 16. Okay, you may interact with your educator anytime to get your doubts cleared. And of course, there are live polls as well. So live polls, how do they work and how can you ask doubts? Let me just show you on YouTube. On the right hand side, you have a live chat window. I hope you guys can see this on the right hand side. So do feel free, do click on this. कुछ भी आपके पास questions हो यहाँ पे लिखिए. I will be happy to help you answer your questions. Likewise, I will also be asking you questions there. I'll be taking your quizzes. There are live polls as well, which will be conducted in the sense that in the sense that this can also be done on unacademy.com. So do attend the unacademy.com classes because that'll give you a very good idea. There are live tests and quizzes, as I've told you, according to which you also receive a detailed report and analysis. So you can actually plan how far you are from the rest of the country or how close and which topics need specific understanding, right? And of course, you get the detailed PDFs and learning material at the end of the classes. This is something that works much better on unacademy.com. YouTube may be here, but unacademy.com it works even better because you actually get a whole range of these kind of services. So it'll be great if you can attend classes there as well. नाउ ये जो पीडीएफ है ये जनरली तो ऑब्वियसली डाउनलोडेबल है. आज तो बस यूट्यूब का आज तो बस ये न्यूज़पेपर का सेशन है. न्यूज़पेपर itself is the PDF, so not much of a detailed PDF today, but on other days you do get a lot of detailed stuff. Right. Please take a look at the financials. This probably is in many ways. This is the payment criteria, as you can see. So how does the payment work? This is how it is usually. On the left hand side, you will see the rates, whereas on the right hand side, you will see the rates after the my code is used. This is my code AD09. So once you make use of this, you will receive a flat 10% off. So you can see how the prices drastically come down. And in fact, the difference is even more stark if you go for the long term courses. So I'll always recommend go for minimum 12 months or 24 months, but not less than 12 months. You can go for it, but it won't be as beneficial to you as the long term courses will. Right? So once you've understood this, I will move on to the meat of today's class. Right. So I hope you have gone through this in detail and you've all understood. So on that note, let me take you through to the main matter of this class. So let us begin then. Yesterday's newspaper in a couple of hours this time. I'll also do today's newspaper. So let me just fetch today's newspaper. Right. So let's begin on that note. This is the Hindu, as usual, your favorite newspaper for these sessions. So today there's actually a Bharat Bandh which has been planned. That's the headline, and there are several opposition political parties which have actually signed up for this in support of the farmers' movement. This includes the Congress, also the NCP, Nationalist Congress Party, the National Conference, which is predominant also, which is the third one, which is predominant in Jammu and Kashmir. There's also the DMK, which is from Tamil Nadu, the Uttar Pradesh-based Samajwadi Party, also the couple of communist parties, the CPI, the CPIM, and the CPIML, also the Rashtriya Janata Dal. So these are the nine parties. In addition, the Telangana Rashtra Samiti and the Shiva Sena, they have also given some sort of support to the same. Right, so there will be these are some of the parties that will be involved in the thing. There's a really heartening story on the right hand side, on the extreme right, regarding a village in the northeastern state of Meghalaya, which has actually turned a corner from environmental degradation. So, if I look at the history, or recent history of Meghalaya, especially the East Jaintia district, वहाँ पे काफी सारा कोयला पाया गया है. Coal has been found, and there is a lot of illegal coal mining that takes place. In fact, there was a ghastly incident couple of years back. I believe just a year and a half back. I think it was in February 2019, so about 2 years back, where 33 miners perished in the rat holes. Rat holes are, as the name suggests, tiny holes good enough for a rat to move in. But humans, obviously, the most poor and the most desperate, they also go in search of mining. So that is what takes place. So this district of East Gentia Hills that was very badly affected by mining, both legal as well as illegal, that led to massive environmental and soil degradation. That's when the NGT stepped in, National Green Tribunal, which is the apex court for all environmental cases. So they stepped in and they put a ban on all kinds of illegal mining. Although some of it has still continued because illegal things do find a way to continue. But in this particular village called Mulam Liang, I'm not sure if I got the pronunciation right, but the villagers, the locals themselves took up efforts to start planting grass all over the state, all over the particular village. So there's a Jaintia Coal Miners and Dealers Association which claims that there are about 60,000 coal mines in about 360 villages of the East Jaintia Hills district. This is one of them. So while it has not completely gone down, so yeah, as I was saying, rat holes क्या होता है? They are tiny ones where miners crawl. I'm going to read out the exact points. Miners crawl into winding underground tunnels that are just 4 to 5 feet in diameter to extract coal from the deep seams with a pickaxe. So, obviously, extremely tough, as you can understand. Um so while it has not completely stopped, but the people in this village, they decided that enough is enough, and they started planting saplings and grasses. And so now this is a green verge that is great, shall we say, reconquest by nature. So Bharat Biotech, which is one of the leading potential vaccine producers, they are producing the co-vaccine. They have confirmed that sometimes when volunteers, there are volunteers who during the trials for the vaccine, it is not completely unexpected that some of them will test positive for COVID-19 or for any disease for that matter, which is being tested against. That is completely normal. That is par for the course. So please do not be too, shall we say, one should not take it as a great threat if this happens. The Serum Institute of India, which is also in the race for a vaccine because they are producing Covishield in collaboration with the Oxford University and AstraZeneca, they have meanwhile sought some sort of a nod for emergency use of the Covishield medicine as early as the end of this year itself, December itself, and they have applied to the DGCI, or the Drugs Controller General of India, for emergency usage approval. The Chief Minister of Punjab, Captain Amrinder Singh, is meanwhile asking questions whether on who will foot the bill for this massive vaccine campaign that will take place. There's also an Unacademy event that has been highlighted, which does make me pretty quite proud to see this. Right, let's continue then. There are other stories given about the, shall we say, the farmers' protests. Okay, meanwhile, the Delhi University has decided to go ahead with the second round of open book examinations. The first ever experiment took place earlier this year for the end of the, shall we say, academic year exams, but now semester exams are also due, and for that, or half yearly and midterm exams, they are also due. So that should now take place, this thing. So this has been confirmed. So last time there were lots of technical glitches, and this time the DU says that they have come much better prepared to ensure there is no repeat for of such a thing. Right, the NGT, I was just talking to you about the National Green Tribunal. They have They have especially asked the state of Odisha regarding some elephant corridors. So, what are elephant corridors? Basically, elephants, like several other animals, they migrate during the seasons. During the rainy seasons, they have traditionally been migrating to upper ground, and during the seasons of shall we say, when the rains have ceased, they come down back to the plains. This has been a trend over the last hundreds, maybe thousands of years. So, however, a lot of these corridors, which are used for migration, they have been occupied by human occupation, human industry, agriculture, etc. So this causes a lot of stress, a lot of harm to these animals. So that is why the NGT has asked the government of Odisha, to clarify what exactly is taking place. A particular NGO has been handed over the responsibility to ensure that this takes place stress-free. That is the ANCF, or the Asian Nature Conservation Foundation. So a total of 14 corridors have been outlined in the state of Odisha, which are stretching over 870 kilometers and having a length of about 420.8 kilometers. The Wildlife Society of Odisha, which is its secretary, Mr. Bishwajit Mohanty, he has confirmed that this is what the NGO is looking to, uh, you know, ensure. Right. Yesterday is also a day, every Monday, that the Education Plus supplement is provided with the Hindu newspaper. So there's one particular, there are a couple of articles which I would like to talk to you guys about. One of them involves human rights, because we are just almost there. Just 2 days later will be World Human Rights Day, 10th of December. And that day is a day when we need to stand up for all rights. So it talks about the various rights and how students especially can need to be especially connected. This article written by Mr. Albert Prayan, who is an academic, a teacher, educator, and columnist. So this person has written about different examples such as gender violence, caste discrimination, police brutality. These are a couple of cases of human rights being violated. He speaks about a ghastly case in Tamil Nadu where police brutality um, ended up, brutalizing a father-son duo, and they later on died due to the injuries sustained. So that's why human rights education is an upcoming field, and so students should consider human rights, especially on the wake of the fact that day after tomorrow is Human Rights Day itself. In fact, human rights has become such a thing that lots of people are also taking up human rights law as a career option. There's also an article on the on quizzes and how quizzing has been a long-term, part of India from the 1970s when the Born Vita quiz contest began, right up till now. Over the last 2 decades, we've had Kaun Banega Crorepati. I remember Mastermind India on BBC, which was such a huge hit. So in the last decade, in addition to the traditional quizzing, digital quizzing has also taken place. In fact, in management institutions, business quizzes are a constant thing, and these business quizzes are either run by the local clubs, there are student clubs, or they are given to some professional organization which takes place of a quiz master to conduct these quizzes. So this is not just a unique story. In fact, many people, especially students, they get into this act regarding the different quizzes. So the writer is Mr. Rajdham, who's a professional quiz master, also the founder of QuizWorks, which is a quizzing company. Let me just show you guys the website. I wanted to show you because this is something really unique. Since many of you are going through GK as classes, you might be thinking eventually of a career in this. There are many innovative careers nowadays which we need to see. Um, Anyway, so let the page load up. I will show that to you guys. I'll just continue on till then along the newspaper itself. Right now, I'm moving on to the editorial page, and there's an article by Mr. Mohan Manu and Mr. Babu Matthew. So, who are they? Mohan Mani, he's a researcher with the Center for Labor Studies at the National Law School, India University, which is in Bengaluru. And Mr. Babu Matthew, he's rather Professor Babu Matthew, he's a director at the Center for Labor Studies at the National Law School, India University. So both of them from exactly the same place. One of them is a researcher, the other is a professor and director. So what have they written about? The article says that it's a mirage which is sold as a panacea for the unorganized sector. They are actually referring to the farm laws and also the labor codes. They're saying that the labor codes. So there's a lot of talk on the farm laws, but there have also been labor codes which have been passed recently. So these labor codes will only better India's ease of doing business ranking. So the entire purpose is sort of international um imaging, international image improvement, but not much of actual on the ground development. In fact, the potential beneficiaries and the so-called beneficiaries have been sold it as a Malaysia, whereas actually it is a mirage. You might be aware a mirage is what you see in a desert, which is actually a false image. When you keep thinking of water, you can suddenly see water far away, but actually there is none. So that is what the writer says here. So this is the article. This is the website I was talking to you guys about. Quiz works. तो यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हैं. This is a team they have of different experts. Right, they have different locations, of course. right? And quiz events, you can see what kind of quiz events they have taken up. This is just to give you an idea of how companies could work. Anyway, let's move ahead to the rest. There's one article about Donald Trump and how Trumpism is not something which came completely new. This article has been written by Mr. Harish Khare, who's a senior journalist based in Delhi. He's also somebody who's traveled the world and who's covered several elections in countries such as the US. So he says about the fact that, okay, so there's a very important quotation which he tells us from, okay, let me just first read out to you the quotation. It says, I'm reading out from within double quotes. How many times do we need to be told that Donald Trump is a, it's not a very positive word, so I don't want to say that here. But anyway, the idea being that this actually comes from 1990. No offense to Trump supporters here, but it's just his views which I'm telling you guys. So there is this. Collection of essays called Beyond the Boom. In 1990 itself, there was this discussion about Donald Trump. But Donald Trump was always seen as somebody with very radical views. And of course, less than 3 decades from that year when this was published, he became the president of the world's strongest country, the world's oldest democracy. And, however, he is not an isolated case. The writer argues that USA has long had a civilizational weakness, which has led to a lot of radical, extreme nativist ideas which have flooded in to USA. Well, there was a lot of paranoia right from day one about the outsiders because USA has been a country of immigrants. So several eminent American historians and sociologists have outlined this in their various essays. There was one called The Paranoid Style in American Politics, written by Professor Richard Hofstadter, that was back in 1963, about unresolved cultural struggles, which were on immigrations and also on the race questions. Topics such as racism, xenophobia, anti-Semitism, paranoid about the outsider, and the contamination that they're bringing in, isolationism, all these had brought in an America First ideology, which had brought in this. In fact, there is this thing about Woodrow Wilson. USA ended the First World War as the world's strongest country. They actually brokered the peace between the two sides, the Allies and the Central Powers. And after this, the League of Nations was formed, which was a precursor to the United Nations. But one of the weaknesses of the League of Nations was the fact that one of its founding members was actually not a member of that group at all, and that is USA. Woodrow Wilson, for all his efforts in setting up the League of Nations, was prevented by his countrymen, by the other elected members from joining that, because the USA always had this isolationism, this shall we say America First culture, which is what prevented them from joining this organization. A lot of that isolationism is because America did not want to have anything to do with the old world, because the immigrants to USA, they had actually rejected everything in the old world, so they wanted to be free from that. That is one reason why this happened. However, there were some sensible leaders like Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who did steady the ship against narrowness and bigotry, but eventually ugliness, racism, and violence, which remained unvanquished and dormant, did come up, looking at. So in 1964, there was Senator Barry Goldwater, who contested under the Republican Party's presidential ticket. He lost by the biggest margin ever, but yet he sort of begun this move towards radicalism, and that basically led eventually to the 12 years of Republicans ruling. Ronald Reagan's 8 years, which led to a lot of, shall we say, changes to the social fabric of America, followed by 4 years of the senior George Bush, not the George Bush, who many of you would know, the one who invaded Iraq and Afghanistan, but his father, who had been president, like Donald Trump and like Jimmy Carter, for just one term. Um, Back then, in these 12 years, there were lots of debates within the US, but surprisingly, they were not between the liberal Democrats and the conservative Republicans. It was within the very powerful Republican Party, between the mods and the cons. The mods were Even though they were conservatives, they were moderately conservative, while the cons, they were the extreme far right conservatives. So that led to sort of civilizational crisis. There's also another, shall we say, brilliant book written by Thomas Frank. I'll tell you the name. What's the matter with Kansas? How conservatives won the heart of America. So Kansas, if you see, is right in the middle of the US. It is a heartland state, as you can call it. And it used to be one of the states with a lot of progressive ideas, but it was caught up under a lot of this right wing anger and angst about the outsider, which is why when Bill Clinton started emerging as a credible leader of the liberal movement, that is when there was a lot of anger in Kansas against Bill Clinton and his supposedly liberal moral lapses. So that led to a lot of burning anxiety in the country, and the requirement for a white America, as there's the questions, fears about immigrants and blacks kept on resurfacing. Tom Wolfe's novel, The Bonfire of Vanities, actually brings out this, entire episode very well. There was a fourth wave of immigration. This was from Asia, North America, Latin America, and the Caribbean, which is still pouring in. So within 10 years, political power in the major American cities would have passed to non-white majorities. So this is something um, which has been which had been mentioned back then in this book. So, and of course, in 2008, the unthinkable happened. A black president, Barack Obama. So once he became the leader, that's what led to the other side getting on the extreme. There was this Tea Party revolt which was set up. And there was another study called the Tea Party and the remaking of the Republican conservatism. So this Tea Party group is what was actually appropriated by Donald Trump. Trump is not a typical Republican in a way. He had never held any public office. He's not somebody from a traditional political background, but he did. I've seen somebody else has joined this session, so welcome here, whoever that is. Do say something. It'll be great to interact. These were the topics I was talking to you. Couple of the projects this company is taking, taking an interest on. Anyway, let's move ahead. Right. So this is where Trump really came into it. So Trump is not an isolated case. A lot of people think that Trump, because of his rather bizarre views on many things, as many people feel, and he is a one timer. And of course, he has now lost. Joe Biden has replaced him, so Trumpism will go. No, Trumpism is here to stay, and he is not an isolated case. USA has had many of these bigots who have come in. Right. So America has eventually rejected the strongman culture, and this defeat of Donald Trump will actually have a lot of repercussions across the world right now. Because if you see in the last couple of years, the world has been ruled by these strongman alpha males. USA led by Donald Trump, Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil, Netanyahu in Israel, Shinzo Abe in Japan, Xi Jinping in China. You can add Putin in Russia, Boris Johnson in the United Kingdom, Viktor Orban in Hungary, Erdogan in Turkey. All these are examples of nationalist right wingers who've been leading the world in the last couple of years. However, with Donald Trump losing, and of course, Shinzo Abe also retiring due to an uncurable health reason, Putin also suffering from health reasons, USA being the leader of this pack, there would be sort of some repercussions for sure among the rest. And one country which might be really affected is Brazil. Jair Bolsonaro is the only one who has openly said that Trump was defeated by electoral fraud. That's what he claims. So Brazil is a country which got away with a lot of stuff because Trump was the president. Now with Joe Biden, a Democrat, things might change extensively. Right. Let's move ahead then. There's an article on the MCP, which stands for the Monetary Policy, sorry, the MPC, the Monetary Policy Committee. And monetary policy is controlled by the Reserve Bank of India. It looks into the banking system and the interest rates. So there's an article on that. There is also an article on fiscal responsibility and how slashing public expenditure amidst a recession is not going to do the economy that good. This has been written by Pulapre Balakrishnan, who teaches at the Ashoka University in Sonipat. And finally, there's an article again written by a journalist, Mr. K. Venkateshwaralu, who's based in Hyderabad. This is on the Telangana election. So, sorry, not Telangana, on Telangana, but recently you had the GHMC of Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation. There were 150 wards in Hyderabad municipal election. The Congress won only 2 seats. That's what they did last time as well. The AIMM also retained all their 45 seats, which they had won last time. AIMM had the highest strike rate, winning around 86% of the seats they contested on. The BJP, however, is the biggest gainer from 4 last time to 48 this time. So that has been a massive charge. They were not able to take in much of the shall we say, the AIMM's vote share, or the Congress, of course, was already adjusted to. TDP had won last time, they are at zero now. The TRS has lost 43 wards from 99 to 56. So, when you get less than half the wards, that means you do not get the assured mayor seat. The mayor, for the mayor's position, TRS will now need the help of either the BJP or the AIMIM. So they will need to see which side they go towards. That is something which will need to be seen. Right. So, little bit into this. This is, I was telling you the background, but little bit on how this happened. So, in 2014, that's when Telangana was created, and of course, K. Chandrasekhar Rao was the tallest leader from who behind the Telangana state creation, and of course, Telangana Rashtra Samiti was the group which wanted to was the political party which was associated with this movement. A lot like Jharkhand Mukti Morcha is associated with Jharkhand's separation from undivided Bihar. Similarly, TRS. So initially, this party TRS rode on the success of the this new state formation. Capturing seats everywhere. 2018 is when the assembly polls were held, and TRS captured a humongous majority, winning 88 out of 119 seats. Even last year's Lok Sabha election, the tally went down a bit, but they still won 9 of the 17 seats. Now, what has happened during this period is the AIMM, of course, is a party which is specifically centered mainly with the Muslim population, mainly in a certain inner city, old city of Hyderabad. So they retain their base. That's one small segment. In municipality, that's a big figure because Hyderabad city has a large percentage, a large Muslim percentage, but the whole of the state, the impact may not be much. But if I look at the bigger state, the shall we say the situation, 2023 is when Telangana has its next state elections. It will be held most likely at the same time as the big three Hindi heartland states, Rajasthan, MP, and Chhattisgarh, also with Mizoram. That's what happened last time. 5 states went in together. So during this period, there is also talk that there are a couple of states which go to polls simultaneously with the Lok Sabha. They might also prepone it a bit to hold it at the same time. But anyway, that's mere speculation. So right now, sticking with Telangana. So now BJP has probably emerged as a credible rival to Telangana, to TRS. BJP for long did not have much of a foothold in the south. That changed in 2000, and in the early 2000s with the rise of Mr. Yedurappa in Karnataka. Karnataka is one state which BJP won in a BJP, was there for a while in a coalition with the JDS, a post-poll coalition. Then in 2008, the BJP came to power on its own. 2013, they lost power, but 2014 Lok Sabha elections, they captured majority of the seats. They repeated that with an even bigger figure in 2019. 2018, they were the single largest party, could not form power. There was Congress JDS alliance, which didn't last too long. Now Karnataka is very much strongly in BJP's hand. So Telangana might become the second state. Right now, they have very little presence politically in Andhra, Tamil Nadu, or Kerala. Kerala, there's still a bit. By the way, today there is the municipal polls in Tiruvananthapuram as well. Andhra, not much. So. But in Telangana, BJP could now emerge as the single biggest opposition. One of the reasons why BJP has risen is because of the fact that a lot of the existing opposition has sort of sort of not been able to retain their hold. One of them is the Congress, which is at this point the single biggest opposition party in the assembly. There's also TDP, which is a big party from undivided Andhra, but since the split, they have not been able to hold on much. YSRCP has also not contested Telangana elections, though they won a humongous election in Andhra, in what is now the Andhra Pradesh state. So that has left the space vacant for the BJP to emerge as a credible opposition. So